Hi, my name is Jordan Persing. Me and my group 4, our topic was researching and memorizing study skills. I came across a webpage that broke down a better way to memorize. It's called elaborative rehearsal. There's a rehearsal, verbal rehearsal, and mental rehearsal. They all sound very self-explanatory. They just pretty much break down different types of rehearsing to study, which helps memorize. A study on rehearsal versus note-taking showed that elaborative rehearsal is effective with storing info into your long-term memory. Maybe not as helpful for a test, but I mean, if it's in your memory, it's going to be there. There's 5 helpful strategies for elaborative rehearsal, and they're as stated. 1, you translate the info you learn into your own words. So, whatever notes that were given in class, it's best that night that you rewrite your notes. I mean, this is what I've tried. You rewrite your notes and put them in your own words. That way you're learning and you're studying at the same time. Number 2, make up study questions and then study them. This just helps with test taking and memorizing also. If you basically pretend you're taking a test, it could work. Number 3, use images to help you learn, if it's applicable. Maybe like a science test or anatomy. You're studying the bones or something. In that case, then you would use images. Number 4, group things into categories. So basically, anything that sounds the same or can be studied together, do that. It could help. Number 5, use a mnemonic strategy, for example, vocab words. These 5 tips are helpful. I mean, some of them I do for studying skills, and especially the make-up questions and translating them, you're studying your materials into your own words. Basically, sometimes I don't really understand what the professor or the teacher's trying to get across. If I sit down and think about it, I can come up with something, or Google, or somebody can help me and explain what they mean, and these help big time.
So one of the biggest parts of actually comprehending and memorizing and rehearsing what you study for taking exams or something like that would be to avoid distractions while you are studying for that certain test. One of the ways you can do that is to set a time and place for your studying. Set the time and place where you want to be. Try to pick somewhere that is confined from other people. Don't let them distract you. Make a weekly plan. Lay out exactly when you are going to do these certain study times for yourself. And then let people know that you're busy. That way they're not coming up and distracting you and while you're busy and impeding your progress in your studying. It takes a lot of self-discipline to tell others and stick to your weekly plan, but it is very helpful. Setting a time and a place allows you to get it done and over with, and then when you are hanging out with your friends, doing whatever you like to do, makes it a little more enjoyable because you're not stressing about studying for an exam or something like that. One of the biggest distractions we have as students is probably social media, internet, stuff like that. That can include TV, stuff like that, but if you can avoid those things, maybe set your phone aside, lock yourself in your room or whatever. Lock your phone out, that way you're not tempted at all. But technology isn't necessarily just a bad thing. It helps you be a little more efficient. You can set dates on calendars, lay out your weekly plan on there. Set alerts on your phone reminding you of homework or studying that you need to do, tests that are coming up, things in that nature. Avoiding social media, internet, stuff like that, entertainment will allow you to focus more and comprehend more what you're studying instead of interrupting yourself with social media and setting your attention aside from what you actually need to be doing. And then the last thing you can do is have positive reinforcement for yourself. Reward yourself kind of like you would a kid or a dog with treats and stuff like that. But reward yourself with 10-minute breaks, maybe every half hour, every hour, something like that. But that'll allow you time just to relax a little bit, do other activities, work out, cook, stuff like that. Get other chores done possibly, whatever you need to do, just to break it up a little bit. This division will help you, give you a little break and allow you to comprehend and understand more of what you're studying. That way you're not just being repetitive and overdoing it all at one time. This setting a reward will boost your productivity by a lot. It'll allow you to be confident in what you're seeing and understanding, and in turn that will help you in rehearsing and memorizing the study materials that you need to take your exam.
So I did my part of the project on different types of learning styles and how to use those learning styles to make memorization easier. So we have 3 different types of learning styles. We have auditory, visual, and kinetic. So auditory and visual are the main. The kinetic is a little less common, but it's still there. So for auditory learners, they're people who learn better by hearing or speaking the information. So good ways for auditory learners to study would be to take digital recordings of your class. During class, just get a tape recorder or something and record what's going on and then listen to it later when you need to study. Read out loud or mouth the words if you're not allowed to make noise. So if you're studying in the library, just mouth the words. Auditory repetition. So if you need to memorize facts about things, auditory repetition, repeating the facts over and over again, is going to help you memorize things easier. And last but not least, teaching someone. So reciting what you have learned or telling someone about the lesson. So if you have a study group, teach each other, recite to each other on what to learn. So next we have tactile or concrete or kinetic learners, and they are hands-on people. Now it's not too common, but the people who are hands-on also go hand in hand with visual learners, which we'll get to. But so for kinetic learners, making diagrams helps a lot. So if let's say you're in math and you're trying to figure out the order of operations, making a diagram will do that. Draw pictures, and then when you're trying to recall, you'll remember the picture, and that'll help. Pretty much find ways to use your hands to help you learn. So just try and find anything for hands-on, like fractions. If you're learning fractions or subtraction, try folding paper into different fractions if you can. But in all, for kinetic learners, use your hands and try to be active with your learning. And last but not least, we have visual learners. People who learn by seeing and doing. So, good ways for visual learners to learn is by repeatedly taking notes and studying them. Notes are super important for visual learners. Draw pictures and diagrams along with that. Color coordinate your notes. So if one topic is about George Washington, make George Washington red and all the facts about George Washington in red. If the next one is about Thomas Jefferson, make Thomas Jefferson blue and write everything in blue. That way when you're trying to think about the facts, you'll see the color and it'll help bring back the information. So we also have making flashcards. Flashcards are great for studying with tests and great for study groups. Study groups are a very important thing to have in college. They're very helpful. Play games. Playing games it may sound very childish, but it works. especially for visual or kinetic learners. So a lot, like for learning the periodic table, I was doing some research, and the periodic table is like a basic thing that you have to know off the top of your head in chemistry, and you have to have it memorized. But sometimes it's hard to memorize all the chemicals. So ways that teachers have come up with games to help them memorize the periodic table is they've made crossword puzzles. They make a game where you have to make words out of the abbreviations of the chemicals. They use word searches. We have memory games, so like flashcards pretty much, and trivia games. So trivia games are like, points on the chalkboard, and you have, this team, and whoever gets the information right gets a point, and whoever wins, gets a prize. And that is actually a really good way for visual learners and any kind of learners, also auditory because you're speaking the facts, and kinetic because you're incorporating your hands and your body to write things down. So overall, it may sound childish, but playing games to help you study for, something like a final or a midterm with your study group actually is very helpful. That's all I have. So find the way that you learn, find out what kind of learner you are if you don't already know, and use the way you learn to help you memorize things better.
My article, The Study Habits of Finnish College Students, provided insight into the amount of time college students around the world spent on reading text. After explaining the procedures of the studies conducted, the article gave background information on how much time is expected and how much was spent in the past on reading. The article specified that students were expected to read for 25 hours a week. This was achieved by a majority of students during the 1960s. Today, only 11% of college students read 25 hours a week, whereas 44% of college students read even less, about 10 hours a week. We have been able to apply this to rehearsing and memorizing study materials in a few ways. As the trend continues, students are dropping out of college much more frequently today. This trend directly correlates to the study time in college students. We have deducted that reading time is a crucial role in rehearsing and memorizing study skills. Students need to schedule in about 25 hours a week of studying in order to be successful. This is the prime way of looking at your information and digesting it as best as possible so you can stay ahead in your classes.